right, guys, we are back in Miami in the free state of Florida. I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It is January 22nd, 2025. We are live streaming, as we are wont to do, on Rumble, on YouTube, and on Locals. If you haven't joined the Locals community already, what are you doing? You can help keep us independent. You can join us for the post-game show and all kinds of other stuff, including ad-free videos, rubinreport.locals.com. And before we get to the show today, I just want to say, it has been a spectacular 72 hours or so in D.C. Just got back late last night. It was a lot of talking and a lot of celebrating and cheering and saying hi to people and high-fiving and all that. I probably hear a little frog in my throat at the moment. And also, it was bitterly cold there. It was rough, so I guess I've become soft as a Floridian now. But it was just such a wonderful celebration of freedom, and there was no hatred, and there was no bigotry. Some of you may have seen the video I put up on Twitter, and I put in Locals, where I was outside with Russell Brand late night, and the Trump drove right by us in the middle of doing a video, which was pretty cool. But just seeing so many people that I've interviewed, that I'm friends with, that are not only part of the administration now, but all of the cast of characters that have been, sat in this very room, come here, talked about these things, and that we're making the country a little bit better right now. And I think most people can see it, even some people who really don't want to see it. And that's going to be our challenge, making more and more people seeing it and angling it when it starts getting a little off path, whatever that might be, just angling it back towards this golden age. Like, it's in front of us and we just got to go get it. And I'm psyched and ready to roll. So today, obviously, we'll be focusing mostly on that, a little bit more about some of the people that are waking up right now, including that Charlamagne Lenny guy. I can't call him the God. He's Lenny. And some other Democrats like Eric Adams who are waking up. We'll have a bit on the rather absurd speech at the church that was given yesterday by this woke bishop. Just when you think this thing is done, as I always say, it's going to keep running through the system for a while, right? There are things in Hollywood that are in the can that are still going to come out. It doesn't all flip overnight. Then we'll have more on some of Trump's selections, a little bit about what's going on with foreign policy, and then we'll end on a positive note, because why the hell not, with all this good stuff happening. So let's dive right in. Lenny, also known as Charlamagne Tha God, big radio host who did not support Trump. We played a video of him last week basically saying, hey, I didn't support him, but I'm not going to go crazy about it, which is a theme I'm hearing from the non-insane liberals. This is the exact same thing that Bill Maher has now said post-election. It's the same thing that Stephen A. Smith said in this very room, 2 weeks ago. So there's a theme where the people who aren't the crazy hardcore leftists, they're realizing that the culture has changed, and you better either get on board or you're going to be left behind. Anyway, here is Lenny kind of defending Trump and going off on the Dems, the very people that he was supporting just months ago.
For telling the truth, because
I'm not mad.
Because the reality of the situation is Republicans treat Democrats the way Democrats should treat Republicans, and I've been saying that. They want to be nice. You know what's so ill about what happened this weekend? Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. Michelle Obama decided to go low and say, F all of y'all, I ain't showing up. But y'all still going high. For what reason? Michelle Obama's letting y'all know, listen, I believe this man is a fascist. I believe this man is a threat to democracy. I'm not about to show up and play nice with y'all. But y'all still going high, and for what reason?
Yeah, you're right. 4 years ago, he wouldn't even get in a car with nobody. He said, I'm not even coming.
Yo, it was ill to me. And you know why? Because he said the election was stolen. Donald Trump said...
He still says it.
He still said... So why... So you know why I respect what he did in 2020? Because he said something, and he acted like he believed it, unlike the Democratic leaders that we have now. If you say something, act like you believe it. Michelle Obama said something, and she's acting like she believes it. Barack Obama... the opposite. President Biden, the opposite. I don't respect that. I respect Donald Trump up there giving his inauguration speech and telling all of them to their face, y'all ain't pissed.
Yo, it was such an
I don't like none of y'all.
It was such an Leaks Housewives moment. Like, you couldn't. I was watching. I'm like, man.
I wanted somebody to say something. I wanted somebody to say something.
They didn't even move their face.
No.
I'm like, I'm not gonna get a face from Kamala. Nothing.
And his base loved it.
Yo.
Barack Obama walked in, they booed.
Booed him.
The Clintons walked in, they booed.
All right. So there's a couple things that he's saying, making, I'd say, broad points on important things. First off, the fact that Trump had the balls to call those guys out during the speech. I mentioned that yesterday, that his speech did two things yesterday. And that's why it was so wonderful. The speech basically allowed for, sorry, the speech was on Monday. The speech allowed for the vision, right? His new vision for America, the golden age of America, but then also addressed, oh, these people behind my left shoulder, these are the ones who screwed up. It actually does take balls to do that. And not only that, I think it was necessary. It was necessary to say there are people who screwed this up. Some of them happen to be right here. So Lenny is acknowledging that, but he's also acknowledging the sort of hypocrisy of the leftists. And I think it's important for people like him, who obviously have a different audience than me, to call that out so more and more people see it. He's right. Look what Barack Obama did 2 days before the election. You know, he was on a big stage saying basically that Donald Trump was a white supremacist and very fine people on both sides, either knowing that it was a lie or thinking that he could get away, or basically thinking he could get away with the lie because no one's going to call him out on it. That didn't quite work. But the point there is, if you believed any of that, Barack, would you be sitting there and smiling? Of course not. So again, this has nothing to do with policy in some sense. It's what is attracting all of these people to Trump is there is an authenticity somehow emanating out of the orange man with crazy hair that the rest of these people all sorely lack. Of course, the other part of it is that the policies of the lefties have been horrible. And even some of the people who have ushered in these policies are waking up seemingly before it's too late. This is sort of like a Zuckerberg kind of thing. Here's Eric Adams from New York City, who made it a sanctuary city, who has ushered in all of the wrong policies, but as you've known over the last couple months, kind of going through his own little transition. And here he is making some sense.
Why are they in charge of everything? Have you ever wondered that?
Well, you know, what happens is that if you push back on that's the norm and that's what working class people want, you get demonized.
Or indicted.
Right.
For upgrading your flights.
You know, and that's exactly what you happen. So people often say, well, you know, you don't sound like a Democrat and, you know, you seem to have left the party. No. The party left me and it left working class people. And our conversations that we should be talking about are not the issues that everyday people that are in power are talking about. People are concerned about the future of their families, and that should be our focus, and that's the focus.
Yes.
You know, Ronald Reagan, of course, famously said 40 plus years ago, I didn't leave the Democrat Party left me. Many people have subsequently said it. There was some guy that did a video on PragerU that has like 50 million views called Why I Left the Left. So we're all familiar with that line of thinking. I would, again, say that for a guy like Eric Adams, it's good to see you waking up. Let's see you actually start doing things in New York City. You're still the mayor over there in New York City. So how about bring more law and order to New York City? How about make sure that people aren't afraid to go on the subways because they're going to be lit on fire or pushed into a moving car? How about make sure that there isn't just rampant criminality on the streets, or help ICE as they start getting rid of the gang members and all of the other illegal stuff that's happening on the streets of that once great city? You also might, I know it's a big ask, but you might also, if you're really going through this evolution, right? If you think the party's that radical that you're no longer part of it, you might also kind of want to apologize to some people that you probably unjustly attacked. The apologies usually don't come in this biz, the media biz, or in the politics biz, but you might want to do that because then it's authentic. And I think that, so there's a similar thing happening with Zuckerberg and with him. We'll get more because there was this crazy church service yesterday. This was really just, it was a perfect example of why we're not done with this woke madness. We'll get to that in a second, but first let me talk to you about Lumen. If you've been trying to lose fat, get leaner, and optimize your workouts, listen up, guys, this is for you. I've been using Lumen for the past few weeks, and it's been a game changer. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. With just one breath first thing in the morning, Lumen measures your metabolism and tells you if you're burning fat or carbs. It then provides personalized guidance to optimize your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and stress management. How does Lumen help you reach your goals? Lumen gives you daily macro recommendations based on your metabolism every day so you're fueling your body with exactly what it needs. Right before a workout, breathe into Lumen and it'll tell you if you're burning carbs or fat. Lumen helps you decide if you need to carb up for an energy boost or if you're ready to crush your workout as is. By using this real-time biofeedback, Lumen ensures that you're in the most optimal state to maximize your workouts and reach your fitness goals. Over time, these small, personalized changes really add up, helping you lose excess fat, build muscle, and improve your overall metabolic health. Ready to take your health to the next level? Go to lumen.me/Rubin or click the link below to get 20% off your Lumen. Not even going to tee this one up too much. This is, let's say, woke Bishop Mariann Budde, and listen to the sermon that she was giving right in front of the newly sworn-in president, vice president, and several other administration officials.
In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so you see what I mean? Like, it's not done yet. The fact that she felt that that was the place just after the new president is sworn in to give a political speech. I mean, people go, I thought, to church or to synagogue or to places of worship to escape politics, because there's something kind of up there that maybe they can focus on that will make them better in here. And yet she took it to the most granular political, let's talk about immigration. And of course, all in a very butchered way. She never made a distinction between legal and illegal. You can see the way Trump and JD did one of his kind of look to the camera sort of moves when they start getting into this about trans kids. There's no such thing as trans kids. If you as an adult wish to do whatever you want with your body and have your surgeries and chemical castrations and all of those things and put on a wig and be called another name, so be it. But just confusing all of these things. Also, even talking about gay children, it's like, well, are there kids that will grow up to be gay? Obviously, right? But like, why are you focusing on the sexuality of children? And then also this other thing about all of the people that are scared right now. It's the people who wash our dishes and pick our crops, so that she's like subtly pushing for some sort of class warfare there. It's just tactless, and it was not the place for it. And well, sadly, it should not be surprising, because magically, then this bishop ended up on CNN. Like this, if you want to, what is kayfabe? This is kayfabe. It's just a theater show. Like if you're the bishop, you had your moment. You did what you wanted to do. I assume you believe in everything you said, but then you also go on a media tour about your speech to the president. This is CNN.
I was looking at the president because I was speaking directly to him. I was also, frankly, as you do in every sermon, speaking to everyone who was listening through that one-on-one conversation with the president, reminding us all that in the people that are frightened in our country, the two groups of people that I mentioned are our fellow human beings, and that they have been portrayed in all throughout the political campaign in the harshest of lights that I wanted to counter as gently as I could with a reminder of their humanity and their place in our wider community.
It's really disgusting. I would love to hear from somebody who is a member of her church, and it's like, is that what you're getting? You're getting your spiritual nourishment out of that? What was Trump's language? Trump actually was way more specific when it came to the language of how he would talk about illegals versus legals and gang members versus legal immigrants and all of those things. You were the one that butchered it more. But also just think about it the other way, right? And I know hypocrisy is dead and all that stuff. But think about it the other way. Imagine if it was a Democrat. Imagine if it was Kamala that had won, right? And now she's giving the sermon in front of Kamala. Did Kamala say awful things, and did the Democrats say awful things about all of us, calling half the country racists and bigots and deplorables and all of the stuff, right? Garbage and et cetera, et cetera. But she never would have called for that. She never would have said, would you lower the temperature on that? Would you stop going after these people or anything else? So that's the irony. And I just want to show you one other on this, because Bishop Mariann Budde is highly political, actually. Her church was set on fire by George Floyd protesters because, there's nothing that will help somebody who's been killed by the police than burning down a church and wrecking your Pep Boys and everything else. And here back in 2020, she was blaming, you guessed it, Donald Trump for George Floyd protesters burning down her church.
We are upset about the fire as well, but that is not our primary focus. Our primary focus is the reason behind, the fundamental reasons behind the protests in our country right now. There is a deep desire for the fundamental issues at stake brought to light by the murderous death of George Floyd and the countless others that we've witnessed in this long string of violence against Black and brown people, that needs to be addressed in a systemic, fundamental way in the from every police department in the country and the vigilante civilian actions that are taken.
You told the Washington Post yesterday, and I'm quoting, everything this president has said and done is to inflame violence. We need moral leadership, and he's done everything to divide us. Is there any way to begin to heal this breach that you're describing?
So yes, there are any number of steps that any one of us can make, including the president, to heal the breach. But it isn't by inflaming emotions. It's trying to bring them down and trying to offer a word of unity rather than division.
I always say that thing about the lefties. It's like this thin veneer of tolerance and diversity and kindness. And when you peel that thin veneer away, it's something very nasty. Like, that's a perfect example of that right now. Defending the people who set your church on fire, who gave us the summer of love, who burned down stores and private property and ransacked Target and Pep Boys and everything else. It's like, it's just the untold amount of Black and brown people who've been subjected to police brutality. It's like, no, it's not untold. It's actually not that many. But all of that aside, here's Trump now being asked what he thought of the speech.
Mr. President, what did you think of the sermon? What did you think of the sermon? What did you think of the
What did you think of the sermon?
What did you think? Did you like it? Did you find it exciting? Not too exciting, was it? I didn't think it was a good service, no. Thank you very much.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
They can do much better.
Yeah, he's kind of right. I also like that he turns it back on the reporter, like, what did you think? Because, look, that was obviously only one small portion of the speech. But imagine if the bishop had just got up there and talked about the new opportunity for America and how that's connected to the Bible, or given a parable from the Bible that would have made some sense to what's happening right now, or how people evolve. Like, there's so many chances that happen in our world right now for someone that I think is purportedly a person of God to, like, actually use their knowledge of the Bible and of history to make things better. And I don't really think that's what she did. I'm told that The View has her on right now. Is this literally? So this is literally happening right now for the crazy people that watch The View at 11 a.m. Eastern instead of watching this show. Bishop Mariann Edgar. But, like, does she just want to be a star? Did we just make a star? Is that what happened here? Here's what Trump put on Truth Social about this. The so-called bishop who spoke at the National Prayer Service on Tuesday morning was a radical left hardline Trump hater. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. She was nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. She failed to mention the large number of illegal immigrants that came into our country and killed people. Many were deposited from jails and mental institutions. It's a giant crime wave that is taking place in the USA. Apart from her inappropriate statements, the service was very boring and an uninspiring one. She is not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology. So look, we can have the internal debate always about whether Trump should be doing this or anymore, or just let it go or anything else. But I just simply don't see how, if you go to that church, you're getting any sort of spiritual nourishment. And the fact that she's on a media tour now, doesn't that say it all right there? I think it does. Guys, let me talk about CB Distillery, and then we'll get into some of the great things that the administration is doing very quickly, because I've been saying they've got to do a lot fast, because we know the machinery always has tricks, and they damn well are doing that. Let's be real. When was the last time you slept through the night or went an entire day without feeling stressed? If you can't remember, it's time to hear about CBD from CB Distillery. They've got natural, plant-based solutions for sleep and stress that people absolutely love. Don't just take my word for it. Check out some of their 48,000 five-star reviews. And it's not just about sleep. CB Distillery has products to help with stress, mood, focus, and even pain after exercise, all made with high-quality, clean ingredients you can trust. There's a lot of CBD out there, but here's why I trust CB Distillery. They're committed to quality. They've already helped over 2 million satisfied customers, and they offer a 100% money-back guarantee. If you've been struggling with sleep, stress, or any other health concerns, maybe it's time to try something different. CBD from CB Distillery could be the game changer you've been looking for. And to make it easy, I've got a special discount code for you guys. Head on over to cbdistillery.com and use code DAVE for 20% off. That's cbdistillery.com, code DAVE, cbdistillery.com. Give it a try. You won't regret it. All right, woke bishops aside, there are some good things happening. Check out this tweet from my friend Chris Rufo over at the Manhattan Institute. Breaking, President Trump has signed an executive order rescinding Lyndon Johnson's executive order 11246, which established affirmative action and banning all federal contractors and publicly funded universities from practicing race-based discrimination, including DEI, a massive shift. Before I move on, I just want to point out that this was necessary. It was good. It's going to have all of the wrong people upset for the people who are wrong about everything will be upset for all of the wrong reasons. The idea of America is meritocracy, individual rights. We don't discriminate on the basis of skin color. There was some guy, I think it was his day the other day on Monday while it was inauguration. Martin Luther King Jr., I think was his name. And he gave a speech once, and he didn't want his children to be judged by this color of their skin, but by the content of their character. But yet, Lyndon Johnson and affirmative action pushed that nonsense into our federal government for decades, and we hired people based on the color of their skin. And then, of course, we'll get more into DEI, and you know clearly what it has done literally across every institution in America at this point. You may remember, maybe we'll show a clip of it tomorrow, the first time I ever interviewed RFK when he was early on in his campaign, still as a Democrat, and we got into our difference on this because he was for affirmative action and I was not. And I think the line, if you're debating this with friends, I think this is the line, and this is what I said to RFK, which is you don't solve a discrimination of the past with discrimination of the present, right? Like that's the idea here. It doesn't mean we did everything right before. But if you think that, because these people were once discriminated against, and nobody's debating that now in 2025 we should discriminate against the Asian American or the Jew or the Indian American or whatever it might be, that will actually create bigotry and hatred and discrimination. And that's likely what it has done. We got a little bit more on the direction that this is all going. This is from Breaking 911. Breaking, the Trump administration has ordered every government agency to shut down their DEI offices by tomorrow. That's today at 5 p.m. So first off, look, just purely at the fiscal level, look what we're doing. We're getting rid of people who have no right having jobs in the federal government. Like, you guys are gonna have to get real jobs in the private sector. And you have, if your job was DEI and you were just looking at resumes all day to say we want this many black people and this many lesbos, like, I don't know if that's a great skill set, so you're gonna struggle getting a job. But good luck with all of that, right? Like, enough of this nonsense in the federal government, and Trump is doing it, and he's doing it fast, and it's great. And imagine, guys, imagine if not only now do we have all of these tech leaders and business leaders who are flocking to work for this administration, but then suddenly all of the lower level people too are hired because of their skill level and their passion and not some other immutable nonsense. We could fix things very, very quickly. And again, I think that's exactly the direction we're headed. Trump's FCC commissioner, Brendan Carr, tweeted this out. Yesterday, President Trump issued an executive order to end the government's promotion of DEI. Today, as chairman of the FCC, I am ending the FCC's promotion of DEI and will focus our work on competently carrying out the FCC's statutory mission. Isn't that something? So the FCC has something to do with federal communications. They're going to focus on federal communications, and they're not going to be focusing on whether the dude in the dress wants to hang out with the lesbian who's unqualified to be the technician. That's pretty great. As I said before, the people who get everything wrong are going to be freaking out for all the wrong reasons. A perfect segue to the televised mental institution known as MSNBC. Here's a woman who I forget, we watched the clip earlier. I can't remember if she's blonde in this clip or not. And a man who looks half like Albert Einstein and half like Fat Albert. Enjoy.
Overturn the Constitution to do his evil and wrongness.
Let's put some stuff up here. He was very excited about the end diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in the federal government. What's the impact?
Yeah, so that's obviously very bad. It's particularly evil to. I always think of prisoners, people who are incarcerated who have changed, who have transitioned. According to this, you're going to take trans women and put them in male prisons. What do we think is going to happen to them there?
Yeah.
That's not going to be a good day.
Yeah.
So I think that this is a thing that has real impact. There's also a real obvious equal protection challenge. And so, again, Trump will do this. He will be sued. This is one of the ones that could be, if not completely stopped, delayed. But there will be people who suffer unconscionable pain because of what he's doing, and not in the kind of like, somebody just called Gracie George. No. These are people who are going to be hurt and physically assaulted because of Trump's executive order.
It's funny, you Muppet. There are actually, you call them trans women, I guess, but they're dudes who, I suppose, act like women or say they're women or whatever you want to call it, who are in women's prisons right now raping women. Dudes raping women in women's prisons. You don't seem very upset about that. You're upset that they're going to send the dude who's dressed like a woman back into the dude prison so that other dudes are going to be pissed at that dude. That might be true, but how about caring about actual women the way you people purport to? It's all very confusing. You know what I mean? Can we make a chart on that? Do we have some kind of chart? You're a dude with a chick and you got an arrow going this way, and he's just wrong about everything for all of the wrong reasons, which is a perfect segue to the Harpies over at The View and Sunny Hostin. Something seems to be happening to her physically since Trump has taken office. She's getting a little crunched. Something's going on with her body. It's the hatred that's started to leak into her very system. She's upset.
And Donald Trump saying things that this country would be a meritocracy. You're talking about a man who didn't become the president of the United States because of merit. He had no political experience whatsoever. He had no business experience. He was given everything that he has. He is a legacy hire. He is, if anything, a DEI hire, a didn't earn it hire.
All right, Sonny, I don't know what's happening to your neck. I guess you're very tense because Donald Trump's president. Lady, he's given you more years on your career so you can bang on about him like the crazy person you are. Donald Trump was given some money by his dad. That's true. An awful lot of rich people set up their kids with an awful lot of money, and in most cases, they burn through that money, destroy family businesses and everything else. The idea that Donald Trump didn't have political experience, yeah, that was the good thing. That was why people voted for him. That's number one. Number two, he didn't start any businesses. I mean, it's just absolutely absurd. He's started businesses that have succeeded. He has started businesses that have failed. Like, he is someone that accomplishes things that literally through the force of will over the past year, not only survived an assassination attempt, but survived all of the things that people like you threw at him and is now more popular than ever. And you're upset that he's going to make America more like the way the founders intended, which is that we won't care about your skin color. Note, Sonny, I haven't said a word about your skin color. Your ideas are idiotic, whether you were white, black, or anything else. Now, yes, it is true. It came out that you have ancestors who were slaveholders, and I do hope that you will pay yourself reparations. Maybe that's what your husband calls it when he's banging you, but did that fully make sense? I think that kind of made sense, sort of. Yeah, like here are reparations. Well, I guess it depends what they're doing. Anyway, the point is I don't like Sonny Hostin. Guys, we got an ad and more on the other side. We've been told our whole lives that wrinkle creams were the easiest way to look younger. Now, one doctor says that's nothing but old news. According to Dr. John Lake, the world-renowned Beverly Hills beauty expert, most wrinkle fixes on the market are nothing but glorified moisturizers. They hardly make a dent on your appearance, and some can even be harmful to your skin, he said. Recently, Dr. Lake has focused his attention away from mainstream cosmetic practices. Why? So he can pursue a revolutionary anti-aging breakthrough, one that some experts say could empty the wallets of the cosmetic industry. His personal clients have dubbed his new do-it-yourself technique the age rewinder method because it can take years or even decades off your appearance in under 2 minutes. In light of this amazing breakthrough, Dr. Lake has released a step-by-step video to the public, free and uninterrupted, where he outlines exactly how to use this simple solution from home. The video has gone viral. At first, it was shared by users on Facebook, but since then, it's racked up over 2.3 million views and counting. So far, the comments and feedback have been outstanding, with thousands of women reporting they look decades younger. You can find out more about this for yourself. Go to bhmd1.com/Rubin or click the link in the description box below. Again, that's bhmd1.com/Rubin. Again, watch the video at bhmd1.com/Rubin right now or click the link in the description box below. All right, apologies in advance. We got one more from The View here. It's Sonny and Anna defending Biden's pardoning, which not only, yes, you know, they pardoned Fauci and Miley and a bunch of other people, but now Biden's family members, who, including his brother, who are under no investigation as far as anyone knows. So it's like when they talk about the Biden crime family, the Biden crime syndicate, do you think that was a little bit of a hint? And he also dropped that executive or that pardoning literally 15 minutes before Donald Trump took office. Take a look.
Yeah, I just wanted to just put a quick button on it because I was not offended by Biden pardoning his family because I think, just like Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you or tells you who they are, believe them the first time. Right. We've already had a Trump presidency. We know that this administration is a vengeful one. We know this is a vengeful man. And if I can protect me and mine, I would do that. And so I think we need to show Joe Biden some grace.
I think comparing Biden's pardons to Trump's is like comparing apples to Volkswagens.
It seems really similar to Jared Kushner.
It does not seem similar to me because Joe Biden's family and the people he pardoned in the January 6th committee have not actually committed crimes. He is trying to prevent them from spending the rest of their lives fighting the government, which is no easy feat.
Oh, is it no easy feat to fight the government when the government's unjustly coming after you? Like, say if you were a businessman in New York City, and then for political reasons, the state of New York started going after all your business license and things of that nature. Would that be an issue? Or they were dredging up old things related to something that happened in the bathroom at Neiman Marcus, or purportedly happened, or something like that. Or, I don't know, they were impeaching you for things that they did. Any of that kind of stuff, would that be a problem? Also, the hypocrisy thing. Like, imagine, Anna, imagine if Donald Trump had pardoned Junior and Eric for nothing, right? They're not even being accused of anything. If he had done, like, it's just so profoundly ridiculous. But I would say, Sonny, Anna, keep going, because more and more people are tuning out of your nonsense and realizing what time it is. And you are actually speeding, or you're hastening the wake up for many other people. This is a really, speaking of hastening the wake up for people, this is a really, really great moment. So Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, who's just been phenomenal for the last year, just really outspoken, and I think in some cases, sometimes explaining some of Trump's economic policies even better than he does. Here he is on a panel on CNN, and he asks him, well, how is it that Joe Biden got so rich?
Not having our politicians captured by those rich people, such as that they can't institute regulation and common sense laws to make sure that the people at the top don't abuse the people at the bottom. And our system in Washington is broken.
That's fair. It's all fair, but half the country's still wondering how Joe Biden got rich.
Yeah, okay, so
how did he get rich?
But if Joe Biden got rich,
how did he get rich? Does anybody understand how that happened?
I actually think that, Kevin, your question about Joe Biden's legacy and how he will be seen is actually extremely important, because I think it's not just Republicans who are asking the question, is Joe Biden going to be looked back on fondly? Democrats are.
So nobody can answer the question of how Joe Biden got rich. Somebody at the end there yelled he wrote a book. I've written 2 books. They both sold an awful lot of copies. I don't think I have hundreds of millions of dollars because of those books. Completely, absolutely absurd. But they know they can't answer that question. And then Abby Phillips, she immediately pivots because they don't really want to sit there and do that. Also, I don't know who that guy was that was on the panel, but another one of these just like asexual people who can't get a boner and who's staring down the entire time. Why can't they get any? Well, we know why. The ideas of the left are now so thin, that's the best they can get. I was on Piers Morgan a day or two, and I'm debating this little child, Harry Sisson, and a socialist maniac, Cornel West. Like, there's just nobody left anymore to defend any of this. So this is what they've been left with. It just is what it is. We're going to jump back to, this is MSNBC host Michael Steele. And Michael Steele was once a very sane Republican. He was the head of the RNC, of the Republican National Committee, believe it or not. He basically is a Democrat at this point. But here he is making some sense as it pertains to the Biden family pardons.
GOP, many other Republican lawmakers today who were asked about these pardons, who didn't like it, who kind of dodged the question, many of them pointed to Joe Biden and tried to both sides it and say that his last minute decision to grant preemptive pardons to his family, to the January 6th committee, that was sort of their deflection. What was your make of that?
Well, I think they're right to make that deflection. Joe Biden gave them a political cudgel to beat back on him.
Yeah, he did. Congratulations for the once in a blue moon where someone said something sane on MSNBC. Like, that's basically where we're at with that place. If I find it's weird. It's like, was that clip so revolutionary? No. But every now and again, when something comes through sane over there, I think it is worth showing you, because they can't pretend to cover for the nonsense all the time. You have to do something sane every now and again. Otherwise, even the brainlets who are watching it start realizing what pure propaganda it is. But here is Trump defending the January 6th protesters, who in many cases were unlawfully charged and compared to the worst possible things while our cities were burning down.
Murderers today are not even charged. You have murderers that aren't charged all over. You take a look at what's gone on in Philadelphia, take a look at what's gone on in LA, where people murder people and they don't get charged. These people have already served years in prison, and they've served them viciously. It's a disgusting prison. It's been horrible. It's inhumane. It's been a terrible, terrible thing. I also say this: you go to Portland, where they wrapped police officers, shot police officers, nothing happened to anybody. You go to Seattle, where they took over a big chunk of the city and people died. Portland, a lot of people died. Wait a minute. And you go also, take a look at Minneapolis, because I was there and I watched it. And if I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city wouldn't even exist today. People were killed and nobody went to jail. So these people have already served a long period of time, and I made a decision to give a pardon. Joe Biden gave a pardon yesterday to a lot of criminals. These are criminals that he gave a pardon to, and you should be asking that question. Why did he give a pardon to all of these people that committed crimes? Why did he give a pardon to the J6 Unselect Committee, when they burned and destroyed all documents which showed that they did what was wrong, not me. Wait a minute. Why did they give a pardon to all of his relatives? His brother, who made millions of dollars, to all these different people, he gave pardons. That's the question you should be answering. All right.
Yeah, that is the question they should be asking. Why did Joe Biden's brother become a millionaire during his administration, right? Why are you pardoning the January 6 people? All they were doing was investigating January 6. Is it possible that they were really up to no good during that? Do you think it might be possible? It might be. I think so. And of course, the broader point was, he was basically saying, hey, look, these January 6 people, for the most part, were peaceful and everything else. But what was happening on our streets at the exact same time? Portland, Seattle, et cetera, et cetera. And why is it that on The View, they probably, I'm fairly certain on The View and on MSNBC and the rest of these networks, they never did episodes about where are all the criminals from those riots, right? Why didn't they arrest anyone during that? And it was at the height of COVID where we were told to stay in our house. But if you put on a mask so you can burn down Target, well, then somehow that's science. So of course Trump is right about this, and I suspect we will find out more of the nefarious things that the January 6th Select Committee did. And in case it isn't clear, I am completely fine with those people being pardoned. And I also think there's another big issue here, which maybe we'll find out more about, which is, does Joe Biden even know what those last pardons were, the last things that he was signing? I mean, we know he didn't. Like, is there any chance, is there literally any chance in high hell that Joe Biden read the documents in front of him? Now, do most presidents read all the docs? No, they have somebody that paraphrases it in front of them. Maybe the chief of staff tells them, this is what you're signing. We discussed this, here are the bullet points, sign it, right? So they're not sitting there with all the docs, obviously. But if you think for 1 second that Joe Biden had any idea what he was signing, or that the people that were really in charge weren't potentially taking advantage of him. We showed you that video on Monday about Mike Johnson saying that Joe Biden admitted to him he wasn't even sure what he was signing, and that they were hiding Joe Biden for months. So a lot more will break on that. And then I think there's questions about legality, right? If the president of the United States doesn't even know what he's signing, does it have any legal weight? But we'll do that on another day. Let's talk a bit more about the other story that was kind of huge over the last couple of days, which was the TikTok situation, because TikTok basically, beyond the brain rot that is TikTok, that's what the kids call it. You're just scrolling, seeing nonsense. It's breaking children's brains. It's confusing them about gender and whether America is good, and it turned 16-year-old girls into Hamas supporters and all of this horrible stuff. But I guess there's some funny stuff on TikTok. Every now and again, someone sends me something funny there too. It is Chinese spyware. TikTok, when you download it on your phone, has access to all of your contacts. I had a debate last night with a friend over dinner about this, who was basically saying, well, what do they want with my contacts? What are they doing? I'm not doing anything wrong. And doesn't the US government do all that with our apps anyway? That might be true. That might be true. And it probably largely is that you put these things on your phone, and from an American perspective, but at least we have some guardrails here. China is an adversary nation, and it is data mining the high hell out of us on top of breaking the brains of young people. So there is a debate. What do we do with TikTok? TikTok shut off for about a half a day. Trump reinstated it for now, and they're figuring out, is there a way to get the Chinese government to basically divest from ByteDance, which is the parent company of TikTok? Anyway, here is Trump negotiating with Oracle founder Larry Ellison, trying to figure out, is there a way to allow TikTok to continue, but be Americanized so that at least some of the guardrails that we have and protections around free speech and everything else would be respected. Take a look.
So the deal I'm thinking about, Larry, let's negotiate in front of the media. The deal, I think, is this, and I've met with owners of TikTok, the big owners. It's worthless if it doesn't get a permit. It's not like, oh, you can take the US. The whole thing is worthless. With a permit, it's worth like $1 trillion. So what I'm thinking about saying to somebody is buy it and give half to the United States of America, half, and we'll give you the permit. And they'll have a great partner, the United States. And they'll have something that's actually more valuable because they have the ultimate partner, and the United States will make it very worthwhile for them in terms of the permits and everything else. But so think of it, you have an asset that has no value or has $1 trillion value. It all depends on whether or not the United States gives the permit. So what I'm saying is let the United States give the permit, and the United States should get half. Sounds reasonable. What do you think?
Sounds like a good deal to me, Mr. President.
Yeah. He can afford it too.
I mean, if you have not read The Art of the Deal, like that is the art of the deal right now. The fact that he even says, like, let's do it in person, I'm going to float this idea, right? He doesn't expect Larry Ellison, when he turns to him, to say, okay, Mr. President, let's roll. But it's a negotiating tactic, right? So we will now see what happens here. There's probably some bad stuff that could happen there too. Do you want the government to be in bed with big tech companies? Did we have a little of that? Did we have some problems as it related to that, right? When it came to COVID and everything else, that the government was too close to tech companies. So there's no clean, easy answer here. We'll do more on this over the next couple of weeks for sure, because I think there's philosophic issues, there's financial issues, there's national security issues, and way more than that. But the point is, at least there's some movement suddenly, because if Trump did not do this, either TikTok would be off right now, which a lot of people don't want it to be off, or it would just be continually basically the opium of our young people and destroying their minds, and that's not good either. So we'll put a pin in that one for now, but I want to show you something. This is really great. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago we showed you a video of SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son announcing that they are going to invest $100 billion into AI in the United States, and during that speech, Trump says to him, "Hey, come on, do 200 billion." And he gets up there and he's like, "Well, I don't know that I can commit to that right now, but we'll do the best we can." Well, look now, it's a cool 500 bill.
Well, Mr. President, last month I came to celebrate your winning and promised that we would invest $100 billion. And you told me, "Oh, Masa, go for 200. Yeah. Now I came back with 500. Because this is as you said yesterday, this is the beginning of golden age of America. This is one great example, I think, right? We wouldn't have decided to do this. I think so. This is the beginning of golden age. We wouldn't have decided unless you won. And yesterday we agreed, we signed to make this happen. Great. Because of this thing. Very nice. So we would make this happen. We would immediately start deploying $100 billion with the goal of making $500 billion within next 4 years, within your term. Yeah. Right? Because of your success.
All right, so that's $500 billion in the course of 4 years to be deployed in the frontier of AI that will build industries and give jobs to people and all of those things, and that's good. And just remember, if Kamala Harris, is going to say Joe Biden, but if it's Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or any Dem, it would not matter, was president right now, that would not be happening. So the golden age, I like the phrase the golden age, because it also has like a little mysticism to it, a little futuristic sci-fi kind of thing to it. You can sort of like see what the golden age would be, right? You can like see it in your mind's eye in some sense, right? And it's like now more and more people are saying it, the golden age. So months ago, we were just like, oh my God, is America going to even continue? Is it just all sort of over? Man, did we hand it away? And now it's like more and more people are like, golden age. More and more people are like, oh, let's invest. More and more people, oh, let's figure out a way to build America again. And maybe I'm someone with some skill, and maybe I can even help the government build better, right? Like that's pretty freaking spectacular. Speaking of spectacular, last night we land in Florida, and the first tweet that I see when I open my phone is this, and this is just a perfect example of Trump doing it quickly, doing it right, and of course all the wrong people will be upset, but take a look at this from Bill Melugin over at Fox. Breaking: in response to Trump's executive orders, the Coast Guard announced it will immediately surge boats, cutters, aircraft, and specialized forces to the southeast border around Florida, that's where I am right now, to prevent mass illegal migration from Haiti and Cuba, and will also surge resources to the maritime border around Alaska, Hawaii, the U.S. territories of Guam, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, American Samoa, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, the maritime border between the Bahamas and South Florida, the southwest maritime border between the U.S. and Mexico and the Pacific, the maritime border between Texas and Mexico in the Gulf of America. And support to customs and border protection on the maritime portions of the southwest U.S. border. And the USCG statement was this: together, in coordination with our Department of Homeland Security and Department of Defense teammates, we will detect, deter, and interdict illegal migration, drug smuggling, and other terrorist or hostile activity before it reaches our borders. Guys, this is why Trump was elected, right? You know, Florida has an interesting position in all of this because we are a peninsula, right? We've got basically 3 borders of water and 1 border largely with Georgia and a little bit Louisiana. But we need the Coast Guard. We have our own state Coast Guard, but we need federal resources to make sure people aren't coming from Cuba and Haiti and all of these other places and just showing up on our shores, which they have done. So Trump, and that's just a portion of what I just read there. The point is that Trump was elected to deal with the migration situation, and he's dealing with it. And we all forgot that the government can actually work for us. It's pretty freaking good. We're going to jump over to Justin Trudeau for a moment, and he's sort of upset because Donald Trump may put some tariffs on Canada because Donald Trump's not so happy with the northern border too, which we talk about way less, but that we don't know who's coming to Canada and then coming into our northern border, and that's a bit of a problem. And you know, as you know, a couple weeks ago, Trudeau came down to Mar-a-Lago and Trump smacked him around a little bit. Well, here's Trudeau trying to act tough.
President Trump also repeated his concerns about the border. While less than 1% of fentanyl and illegal immigrants that enter the United States come from Canada, our government has already acted to address the concerns raised by the president about border security with an over $1 billion comprehensive border plan. We're already working collaboratively to keep our citizens safe on both sides of the border. Of course, if the president does choose to proceed with tariffs on Canada, Canada will respond, and everything is on the table.
Was that a threat? Everything's on the table. I'm going to get dressed up and get all of my other LARPing friends, and we're going to put on a musical. That'll upset him. It's like, no, Canada, we're going to make a deal here, and you're going to do more to protect the border, and we're not going to have such a lopsided trade deal, and you're just going to take it, Trudeau, and that's exactly how it should be. So, okay, see ya. You know, there's the line that weak men create hard times, and hard times create strong men, and strong men create good times. Well, that is sort of where we're at right now. We have had weak, ineffectual, I often say, people who cannot maintain erections. These are bonerless people running the show, and it's enough. It's enough already. We've had enough. I want to show you this great video of Marco Rubio, who is officially confirmed as Secretary of State, and I think he is going to do an absolutely spectacular job. And just take a look at this. It's a little compilation video that they put together, but just like, look at the seriousness again. Like, we can do it, guys. It's happening right in front of our eyes.
Colleagues, the 72nd Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
I want to thank President Trump for nominating me. This is an extraordinary honor and a privilege to serve in this role, to be here, frankly, to oversee the greatest, the most effective, the most talented, the most experienced diplomatic corps in the history of the world resides in this building. And my sincerest hope and my prayer is that we will, as a nation, be able to leave the future generations with a country and a planet safer and better than the one that was left for us. And you will be a big part of achieving that goal. It is an honor to be able to lead this agency. I hope to do it with distinction, with integrity, working harder than anyone ever has at this role. But I know that we are up to the task. And I'm glad that I'm in the job, on day one. And we're ready to go to work, and I know you are as well. Thank you. God bless all of you. God bless our country. Thank you.
Doesn't he seem like comfortable and competent and ready for this job? And his life story, you know, he's told it on this show. I've repeated it many times about his father coming here from Cuba and cleaning dishes, saying, hey, we're in America now, you can become whatever you want. And the guy eventually becomes a senator, is now the Secretary of State. He's a wonderful explainer of the history of America, and someone that I think cares about this place deeply. You know, if the things that the left cared about mattered, shouldn't everybody on the left be applauding that we have our first ever Cuban-American Secretary of State? Isn't that important? He's Latino, but they don't care because he's not one of them, so it doesn't count, right? Like if he was a woman, it wouldn't count because he's not one of them. I don't care about any of that stuff. other than the fact that his story of his immigrant parents is deeply connected to why he loves America. And I think that that is going to transcend into the job that he does as Secretary of State. But it's not just that we're bringing good people in here. It's that Trump has a vision for the country, and it's a positive one. And he believes in peace through strength. So you know what that does? It makes other people in other places start looking at America and going, boy, if we don't play ball with them, we could be in trouble. There's this guy, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Vladimir Putin. He's in charge of a place called Russia. Russia has been encroaching on Ukraine. It's been a big deal over the last couple of years. We've given hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. We don't know why or where the money's gone. But now even Putin himself is saying he is ready for peace talks and that they hopefully can find a positive, lasting, peaceful solution.
We're also open for dialogue with the new US administration on the Ukrainian conflict. The most important thing here is to eliminate the fundamental reason for the conflict. That's the most important. And as for settling the situation itself, its goal should be not a brief ceasefire, not just getting some time to regroup and rearm and carry on the conflict, but long-term peace based on respect to lawful interests of all people and nationalities living in the region. And of course, we're going to fight for the interests of Russia and its people. This is actually the goal and point of the special military operation.
Kind of funny that Putin never said that when Biden was giving Ukraine endless amounts of money and military to fight him the whole time, right? It became this endless boondoggle over there and an endless money laundering operation, obviously. And suddenly Putin realizes, boy, you know, Trump's going to do this thing a little bit differently, so we better be willing to negotiate. So I'll make a prediction. I don't know how long it's going to take. My sense is this thing's going to wrap up within about 3 months, would be my guess. But the deal will be something like this. Ukraine is going to make some sort of territorial concession, right? Zelensky is going to realize, boy, the gravy train's drying up. I have to give up something. Whether you think that's just or not, he's going to give up something. Putin will also get NATO a little off his borders, right? That's what this is really about, that NATO keeps getting closer to Russia, and he views NATO as a hostile entity, which in his case is probably right. So there will have to be some sort of concession there, and then everyone will walk away, and Ukraine will remain a free country that is Ukraine. Putin will have to concede that he's not taking all of Ukraine, but he will have gotten a little something along the border, and that NATO won't be right on top of him. That's exactly where we'll be at. And I want to show you this meme and just reiterate something I said a moment ago to wrap up the show today, because I think this is exactly where we are at right now. And get it in your head and share this meme, because this is it, guys. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. We have been in hard times for 4 years. Our lack of leadership, our inability to communicate what America is and lay out that vision for the world, it largely destroyed America, but it also upended the entire world. The world wants us to be good, and we're starting to be good again, and I think we are going to lead this thing to the golden age. That is our program on this Wednesday. We have a post-game show coming up in moments at rubinreport.locals.com. I thank you for watching, and we will leave you with the man that's golden himself, sending us into the golden age. Goodbye.
Hey, goodbye. We love you. We will be back in some form. So, have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much.
On Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
That I will faithfully execute.
that I will faithfully execute
The office of President of the United States.
the office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.